United's ongoing journey towards financial stability, it continues. In August, interim CEO Pastor Delvin Brooks said that the nonprofit could potentially restructure in order to put them in a better position for a more stable financial future. This morning, the nonprofit reported that they have cut nearly 20% of their staff and 25% of their full-time employees since the first week of August.
We critically looked at what positions could we cut and which ones did we have to sustain. We used two criteria. One was any position that was tied to direct funding, from a funding source. Obviously, you have to keep that, right? Secondly, any position that was direct care for our guests, because that's mission. Outside of that, everything was on the table.
Now, although progress has been made in the last 2 months, Churches United continues to seek monthly donations and volunteers. They look to continue to serve the unhoused community.